views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's a Monday. Here we go again.
Here we go again.
Another week in paradise.
And let me tell you something. This weekend has been absolutely crazy. Okay? For those of you who follow the Weekend Flush religiously, it has gotten major comeback. I mean, people are coming back saying you're absolutely on the money. And I think it's important because, you know, right off the top, we're going to lead with something very important. A new community maintenance director for $110,000. Lies, more lies, and more lies on top of lies.
So the 110,000 isn't a lie, but
yeah,
plus,
it is.
Plus benefits, which brings them up around 150.
Right.
So, but the rest of it is lies.
Yeah, but you know, the interesting part about it is, I remember a certain reporter who shall remain nameless, CJ Ferry, who said to the city council during citizens input time, oh, I forgot, Ray Mitchell doesn't listen during citizens input. That's right. Thank you, Ray Mitchell, for not representing the people of Fall River. You're doing a wonderful bang-up job of doing what you want to do. And I told him, I said, this was a farce. This was a lie. This had nothing to do but spend money. Now, I'm still trying to figure out how they equated $115,000 a year salary plus benefits for one position to a savings of two salaries equal $196,000 plus benefits. Can you do the math?
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, you know, this is the new myth. We talked about myths, CJ, but as we said on our first program oh so long ago, when you follow the money, you finally ultimately get to the truth. And the reality is that there's no savings. This is the new tale, the fable that's being weaved by this administration now. What we do is we lay off all the people who have small jobs, and we add up what we saved from them, and we say we saved money, but we haven't saved anything because we spend it on somebody else to give somebody a high-paying job. And then we justify it. And the justifications, I mean, look, you know, you get the ridiculous, then you get the sublime, then you get the ludicrous. And we're at ludicrous now. I think in Spaceballs they used that ludicrous speed, didn't they? That's who we're at now. We're at ludicrous speed because Kathy Ann Viveris, our non-Perel city administrator, she could justify the Holocaust. I'm telling you, it's unbelievable. She's saying that he was very well. Sometimes you have to pay more to get someone really well qualified. Well, you know something? If you're going to take over a company that employs 10,000 workers, they're not going to hire somebody who used to supervise 10. They don't consider that qualifications. You have to work your way up. This guy has been in numerous cities, which means that they're not that interested in keeping him. Secondly, the town he worked for had barely over 10,000 people. I mean, really?
And he
really?
13.
Well, but you know something, CJ, you're right. I just realized that their convoluted logic finally worked this time.
That's it.
Because he's so used to dealing with very small departments, because how big can a maintenance department in a city of 10,000 be?
13 people.
13 people. We got more people in the bathroom in Government Center right now than he was supervising. So, but I mean, let's face it. 13 people. That is amazing. That is absolutely amazing. He's so well qualified to run something. So what did they do? They made it easier for him. They don't want him to transition from supervising 13 people to supervising a large department. So they cut the department in half, give half to the guy that supervised the whole thing, give him half the work, and then they lay off 1/3 of the workforce. So they're trying to get it down to 13 people from the supervise for 110,000. I mean, you know, this is, you know, it's just mind-boggling how this city can just urinate money into a hole. I mean, they'll figure out ways to spend money under the guise of we're getting the best and the brightest. We've never gotten the best and the brightest. I mean, all we got to do is look at our former I never had an answer or a number, Mr. Nunes. And he was another one of our best and brightest that we had to elevate a salary to get. And you know something? I mean, this is just, I mean, if the city, and then the city council, it's comical. A quote from Pam Laliberte, I'm kicking myself for voting on this reorganization. You should have kicked yourself regardless of what the salary was. You know, you're going to break 2 departments up and then pay people almost as much to do half the work. Then you get rid of half of a department. So you got a quarter of a department.
But before you go on, Chip, before you go on with that, I gotta say this, because there's a comment here in regards to that. This comes from Linda Raposa. The more I read this story, the angrier I get. The city council kicking itself for voting for this? Please allow us the pleasure so we can kick you all right out of office. I mean, this is how infuriated the public's getting.
And, you know, but, you know, CJ, justifiably so. You know, justifiably so. I mean, you know, look, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You know, at least extend me and the voters and the people of Fall River the courtesy of not urinating on our heads and trying to convince us it's raining. You know, the fact is that this is just, I mean, the stuff that they come out with, I mean, you've got to pay more to get the best. Now, if you got the former head of the DCM in Boston, who was supervising more people than we've got in probably all the departments in the city of Fall River, well, man, maybe you're getting a deal. Maybe the guy wants to come to a smaller job, get a little bit of pin money after he kicked back in Boston for a while and he's got his high 3. But you know something? This is just, you know, this whole thing, as we said on this show, was BS from the get-go. This was not the reorganization that the people of Fall River were looking for. They were looking for eliminating jobs at the top and keeping more people providing services to the taxpayers, the people that get the low salaries. But everything with this city seems to be how many big and high-paying jobs can we give away and get? How many people can we employ with the taxpayers' money? And as I said, we're going to be doing a special on why we have to employ 16 different companies to remove trash, why we have to bond and rebond, and this is the problem. And you know something? Kudos to the people of Fall River. You know, we began a while back, and we got people involved, and they're staying involved, and they're paying attention a lot more. And the people throughout the country are. And good. You know something? It's time to maybe clean out almost the entire city council, maybe the whole thing. See you later, bye. Because when they allow Pam Laliberte kicking herself, she shouldn't have voted for it in the first place, regardless whether her salary was 98, 80, or 110. It shouldn't have happened. But you know something? It's time to stop allowing people like Kathy Ann Viveris to walk up in front of that council and make ridiculous statements like this without calling them on it.
And the worst part about it is when you tell this city council what to do, okay? And, you know, I don't take things personal, but in this respect, I am, because it's not only this council, it's the previous council. You know what? I'm not an easy guy to get along with. You believe that, Chip? I'm not an easy guy to get along with. But you know what? You shoot the messenger every single time and ignore the message. And you know what? That's your fault, because when the message is given to you, you cannot say, I did not know. Because guess what? You were told. And the fact that you have to prep 2 minutes before the meeting starts so you can't take time to listen to the message, that's your fault. You shouldn't be prepping for your meeting 2 minutes before it starts. You should be prepping for that meeting beforehand, during the day, a few days back, whatever the case may be, but
Well,
not.
You know, they
in 5
listen to
seconds.
you. They listen to you.
Well,
CJ.
you know-
They listen to people, but they just want to pretend they don't listen because then the people would say, "Hey, we told you so," and they went, "Oh, maybe you were right, but I was too busy prepping for my meeting."
Yeah, well,
and,
let me tell you something.
And you know something, I read some of these statements, and it's just, it's just
you
incredible.
have Corey Miko Lasik saying Pam LeBeau is kicking herself for voting yes on an organization. She's the female Paul De Silva of the current city council. My concern is that how did the city councilors not see any of this coming? I mean, these are the people of Fall River getting ticked off. Greg Primo, Kadim is a financial genius. He's the Sergeant Schultz of the council. I know nothing about 22 windows. I know nothing about a remodeled bathroom. I know nothing about how one of my properties got foreclosed upon. Okay? I'm calling BS. This guy currently drives to Maynard from New Bedford, and I'm sure with the use of a town vehicle. Time to recall this mayor. Linda Raposa, the city council not only useless, it's pointless. The mayor already dictated he's tossing 25 to 30 men in that department out on their keisters. What do they need a six-figure salary department head for? We don't even need a mayor. This is what tyranny looks like. I mean, the people are getting ticked off. I can go on and on. I have comment after comment here. People are just mad. They're angry.
Keep them coming. If we do a special, we'll do a 10-minute segment on just reading comments from you guys. So
Yeah, I'm
keep
telling
them
you.
pouring in.
John Davis, this hire is a future disaster. Just wait. Joe Soares, can you see Detroit from here? I mean, this is amazing. Ron Norfolk, what a miserable joke. Yeah, Kevin Chico's done a good job with what he had to work with, and he's taking a $20,000 a year cut in salary, and this other guy is coming in making making $12,000 more. You can't make this up.
No, and they said, and then here's another one talking about the director would oversee private companies, et cetera. Then she says, quote, the scope is still being refined. So you hired somebody without a definitive definition of what their job description
Right.
is. You have blank lines in our contracts for our waste disposal, and you wonder why people are infuriated.
And the
it's
worst
like
thing
you
is-
just never stop lying and misrepresenting and spending the taxpayers' money because you don't care. It's not your money. And we can't ever get this city out of the hole
Right.
until we begin to listen to me, city council. Well, first of all, I have to say, have you ever heard of a motion to reconsider? Oh, silence. Motion to reconsider. What's that? Whoa.
Undo what you did.
Well, Pam, you voted on the prevailing side. Why don't you make a motion to reconsider that?
That's right.
And it can be seconded by Cliff Pont, who said he voted for that in good faith. And then maybe we can reconsider it and tell them to stick the reorganization where the sun doesn't shine.
Because remember, if you don't fund it, it don't happen.
That's right. I'm tired of we keep saying we're tired of hearing weak council, strong mayor. Baloney. The fact is, what is the strongest committee in Washington and in Boston?
House Ways and Means.
House Ways and Means. You have to find a way and a means to fund it. You don't do it, it don't happen.
That's right.
And City Council, you have the biggest bat on the block. You hold the purse strings. You don't approve it, it doesn't happen. Doesn't matter. Why don't you let's see some courage. I'm going to remind you, go and look at your little parliamentary procedure books and look up a motion to reconsider. It has to be made by someone who voted on the prevailing side. We have some people on the prevailing side complaining, saying that they're not happy. So why don't you make a motion to reconsider it? And it has to be seconded by somebody who voted on a prevailing side, and then it's open for reconsideration. So why don't we reconsider it instead of doing what you always do and throw your hands up and go, oh, you were right, we were wrong, we didn't realize it, and we thought this and we thought that, and all the hand wringing and the whining to justify an action that should have never been taken. We said it from the get-go. Splitting those two departments and paying two department heads giant salaries was not the reorganization the city of Fall River wants. It's about getting rid of these. We've got way too many administrators. You know, I don't understand. You know, CJ, maybe you can help me. I just can't figure out how we managed to run the city of Fall River when we had almost 100,000 people. The mayor didn't have a city administrator. Half of these jobs now didn't exist, and all the mayor had was a secretary, no chief of staff, no city administrator, no press. What's the press agent called? What's the euphemism they call him?
Special assistant.
Special assistant to the mayor. All these special assistants, and we're getting smaller and smaller, but we have more and more management. That flies in the face of a true organization. Look at any organization in private industry. What's the first thing out of their mouth when they get in financial trouble? Downsize. And downsizing doesn't mean they eliminate the people who put out the product that they sell, because then they won't have a product. They downsize management.
Well, you know, Chip, I've got to get on this too, because if you remember correctly, earlier this year, I said to this mayor, I said to the previous mayor, and many people in the media said the exact same thing. It is now time for the city of Fall River to get out of the solid waste industry. It is time for them to no longer handle municipal solid waste. And all that had to happen was for a mayor with a set, and obviously our mayor mustn't be too much of a man, or he has a very small set, because all he had to do was create an executive order that said, effective July 1, 2016, the city of Fall River will no longer handle municipal solid waste. As such, property owners are required to enter into private contracts for their trash needs, period. End of story. Now, let's look at this from a dollar and cents point of view, and I'm going to do math, so please, city councilors, get a calculator so you can try to understand these numbers. The average three-family home spends approximately $50 a month on privatized trash. According to the city, there are 3,300 units. I'm going to break that down by 3, because that's the average building. So that's 1,100 properties per month. Times, and I'm going to actually up this number to 75, because I'm going to say that each property wants to give each tenant one bin. So we're going to up it to 75. 75 times 1,100 properties gives you $82,500 per month. Times 12 months gives you $990,000 even a year for all the properties in Fall River to have municipal solid waste services. And the city of Fall River is spending how much? $6.9+ million a year. That's just what we can see. We're not even talking about bonding. So I'm hoping that our viewers can understand these numbers. I'm hoping that our mayor can understand this number. And I'm hoping that the people finally turn around and say, you know what, CJ? You're right. It's time that every property owner privatizes their trash.
Yeah, but CJ, you know that those numbers, even though they're right, because I checked them as you were saying them.
Thanks for confirming them.
Yeah, I had the calculator out, but you know as well as I do what they're going to say. We can't do that because we've entered into contracts. We've got contracts. We're locked into this. We're locked into that.
Those contracts are only binding on the city as long as it handles municipal solid waste.
I know that, but but that's not what they're going to. You know as well as I do.
I do know.
And then, so what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We're going to enter into a 10-year contract.
That's right.
And have blank lines. And we're going to have, again, misrepresentation. And like I said, City Council, if you vote for this thing, you all should be recalled. Because the fact is, You just got lied to again about the salary. You just got, everything's misrepresented. If you're gonna trust the numbers you get and blank lines for incidentals and a 10-year contract, you really need to be removed from office. I'm sorry, because how many times do they have to crap on your head and the taxpayers before you wake up? How many numbers do they have to say, oh, that wasn't right, and change numbers? And how many times do they say, we don't have an answer, or we don't have this, or the scope is still being refined, unquote. We don't have those numbers right now, but, well, you know something? As I said, thank you, taxpayer, for being the sacrificial lambs in this thing, because the reality is, you couldn't do this in private industry.
No.
If you went before a board of directors and you said, well, you know, we think this is gonna cost us $6 million, they're gonna say, well, you better tell us exactly how much it's gonna cost, otherwise it's not gonna get done. Because if it costs us $12 million, we're out of business. But these guys never go out of business, because it's our money. It's just like the bonding. We never pay anything off. I think we're paying stuff off from the Civil War, because they take a bond, they pay the interest, then they rebond to pay that bond off, and we're paying another bond that paid that bond. So we're not really paying it. That's like taking a credit card and saying, I'm only going to pay the interest, and I'm going to get another credit card, so that credit card doesn't exist. No, you still owe, and you still owe as much.
If not
and
more.
now you've added more debt, and more debt, and more debt. See, if you did that, or I did that, they would shut our credit off. They would not give you a credit card anymore. Your credit rating would be like minus 750 or minus 800. But you see what the city does? The city fudges their bond ratings, they manipulate numbers, and even now, when we can't do that anymore, because we're so pathetic, they can't even lie to these bonding firms, now we get the state to underwrite our bonds. So, but you know what the end result of this is? It takes a lot longer with government, because government loves to kill the taxpayer. But then when a taxpayer can't pay any longer, Detroit, receivership, that's what happens. That's what happens. Atlantic City, Detroit. Atlantic City made, you want to talk about waste? You know how much Atlantic City made from the gaming industry? And there was a documentary 4 or 5 years ago about how they misappropriated all that money. They spent it on everything else except Atlantic City. And improving Atlantic City. And now look at it. And look at Detroit. Because what you're seeing is the future of Fall River, City Council. The future of Fall River. You've got to stop this madness, and let's begin. The first way to turn around Fall River is the first way you have to turn around your household when you're in debt. You have to stop spending and start paying off your bills and reducing your liabilities.
You are swearing again, Chip.
So let's hire another 110,000. Say we're going to get them for 98 and 110. You know, and look, people are saying it's the mayor. Yeah, you're right. It's the mayor proposes, but who disposes?
City Council.
You are accessories after the fact.
Not only them, DLS and the DOR, they refuse to do anything. You have the governor refusing to do anything. Karen Polito comes down here and props up all this market rate housing. Guess what? That's another BS line. You have a city council which touts and gives away your tax dollars. $41 million went for the Harbor Mall and Market Basket. Oh, we love Market Basket. I like Market Basket too. But guess what? It wasn't a freebie. The property owners are paying that tax.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm glad you explained that to them, because you know something, people? Market Basket, from everything I've heard, is a really great market. But the fact is, it's a financial drain on the city and the taxpayers, because the fact is their TIF is paid by us.
That's right.
Because new growth is factored in, and we pay that.
That's right.
They're not paying it. They're not paying anything.
And I finally got a city councilor to admit that he knew that.
And it's got to be paid, so we pay it.
That's right.
Plus, if they drive Stop and Shop, which, by the way, is a taxpayer, out of business, and plus they drove all those other stores in the area out of business because they're going to do this rebuild here,
Walmart.
and with everybody with TIFs. So they shifted the burden to us again. And under the guise like market rate housing. And listen, I don't expect DOR to do their job. I don't expect any governmental agency with people who got their jobs from politicians to care about the taxpayer, because their mantra is very simple. Years ago, they used to worry, but it seems that nobody will throw them out of office. Let's take care of our own business. Let's get people in that city council who will just strangle anything that comes in front of that council that's going to spend money before we begin to get a handle on our debt, begin to pay our bills off, and begin to do the right thing for the taxpayers. You know, enough is enough.
No, it's not, Chip. We haven't spent every dime, and yours too. So when we get a mortgage on your house, then the city will have spent enough.
Well, I'll tell you what. When with all these increases, there are going to be, as I said, we have one of the lowest percentages of home ownership in this city. And it's going to be the lowest, without a doubt, because there are going to be a lot of people on fixed incomes who paid their houses off, who are now not going to be able to afford them, and they're going to be out. And the city, again, our tax base continues to shrink while we increase our liabilities, because new growth goes into the tax base. And the fact is, if the new growth isn't paying taxes, we have even fewer people. Every time somebody loses their house, their taxes have to be absorbed by you.
That's right. And here's the kicker. Simple. Let's quote our infamous caller, who's allegedly, I got to say that because I don't have proof, allegedly buying all of our, I'm going to quote him, crud houses here in Fall River. Okay? That's what these absentee landlords actually believe. This is crap housing. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to make a buck on it. I'm going to stick Section 8 in there. And when market rate housing fails, which it does, and it will, please, people, remember Point Gloria. It will become low-income housing. So Commonwealth Landing, when your market rate housing fails, I'll guarantee you that Larry Kudu and Tony Cadero run out to housing and talk to David Sullivan and say, I need Section 8, I need Section 8, I need Section 8. Okay? Because they need to pay the bills. And the state waives the requirements because they want the money that they've put up. That's business.
Not like it hasn't been done before, Point Gloria.
Yeah, but again, and this is the problem, because you have an imbecile in the Fall River Office of Economic Destruction saying, this is the best thing for Fall River. And it's not. I mean, he walks in partway through a conversation and he hears me mention Google, and he says, Google's never coming to Fall River. I never said they were. I said that they had an offer to many cities and towns throughout the country.
Yeah.
So you know what? When you open your mouth without knowing it, you stick your foot in it. And this city council has done it. Kenny Fiola has done it. The mayor has done it. The school committee has done it. It's time for it to end. It's time for you, the people, to take it back.
Exactly. When's the last time you saw the top cities of our size in the state asking for market rate housing? The answer to that is never.
Never.
The truth will set you free. Demand the truth and stay angry.
I'm telling you, we can't win for losing. Thanks for watching. We'll see you Wednesday.